Hi, welcome back to Cardinal Rose Tarot. My name is Cynthia. Welcome back. It's nice to be home. If you watch my channel, you know I was just out of town for a few days, and now I'm back home in my little space. And even though I've been anxious to move on in my life, I forgot to get a little bit of incense going here. Give me 1 second while I get a charcoal. Hold on, let me pause this and get a charcoal going for us. I want to have that going. Okay, sorry about that here. I like to burn incense because it helps keep the energy clear for the reading. And it's just nice to do. I like to have a place of ceremony when I'm doing readings, so I really try to do that. Although that's a lot of work on the front end. So sometimes I'm winging it with just a few candles, right? Is that going? It didn't go. Come on. So I had a couple things that I wanted to talk about today. I don't even know if I'm going to get to an actual reading in this video, in this upload. I think I will. But this is way out of the norm for me to do on this channel. It's probably the only time I'm going to do it, but never say never. So that's a little caveat there. And it's actually not related to tarot at all, what I'm going to be talking about, but I'm going to name somebody's name, which is another content creator out there that I don't know personally. They're not a tarot reader. It's nothing to do with me and my world and what I'm doing on YouTube, other than I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and that is part of what I do here. It's not the main thing. I don't run a therapy channel. I'm not Dr. Ramani, right? I'm a tarot reader, but I'm also a clinical social worker, and that's how I've laid my channel out, basically. And this speaks directly to a conflict that I'm having as a social worker. And I'm bound by my discipline's code of ethics, the NASW code of ethics. I take my job very seriously, as any social worker should, as any therapist should. Unfortunately, as we all know, there are bad actors out there that don't take their ethical obligations as therapists seriously. I happen to. But I also invite you, I just want to preface all of this by inviting you to critique what I'm saying in the comments if you don't like it, if you have questions, if you want to know from what authority I'm speaking, right? So I am a licensed clinical social worker. I actually meant to get my diploma out so I could show it here, just so for the basics, so people know that I have the credentials that I say I do. I think it's just right in here. It might take me a minute though. Nope, there it is. It's right there. Except now I'm screwing up my whole altar. Here's my diploma, okay? I am a licensed clinical social worker. This diploma does not say that. It says that I have a master's degree in social work. I went to the college. It was a state college when my mom went and got trained as a school teacher. By the time I went there, it was a university. It's Eastern Washington University. Our mascot is the Eagles. Our university prides itself on having a very high number of first-generation college graduates. And so I'm very proud of that. They have a really great social work department because of that, in my opinion. They're not a leading school in the discipline of social work, even like the University of Washington is kind of a competitive school of social work to get into. Part of why I went to this school was because my mom went to school there and they had a satellite program where I live. And because I chose their program over a track program. So I am an advanced generalist as a social worker. And what that means is I don't just do therapy. A lot of people become social workers only because they want to become a therapist. And then they get into a track program where they get all the training to become a therapist. My degree is an advanced generalist. So not only can I be a therapist, but I'm also trained extensively in how to move between one-on-one talk therapy into like a more community-based role, into even a federal role where I'm doing lobbying at the federal level, going to Capitol Hill, pushing for change, right? Social workers get a bad rep a lot of times because we're known as kind of like the baby snatchers, and that's for a reason. Social work hasn't always done a good job. They are a colonizing discipline. It's done what it can to decolonize itself, but it's never going to be over. It's from a colonizing structure, social work is. And I could go way into that, but I won't here because that's not what this is about. But here's my diploma. Here's my diploma. I am a Master of Social Work from the Eastern Washington University. Okay, so if anyone has any doubts about what I'm saying, there it is. And you can look me up at Eastern Washington University and you'll find that I graduated and I even taught for the university. I was a field instructor teaching other social work students how to apply the code of ethics in their internship sites and how to become ethical social workers themselves. So I fucking know what I'm talking about when it comes to my discipline. And I never do this on this channel, but I'm gonna name names of somebody that I think whose conduct in the true crime community needs to be called out because it's not good. She's dealing with other victims' family members in a way that I find disingenuous and gaslighting and unfair. And she's allowed to be like that, okay? I'm not coming for her because she's out there trash talking. Who cares, right? I don't care. The reason I'm calling this person out is because she is trying to take a position in the community as being allowed or having the authority and wisdom and credential to coach other people in how to live a good life, how to be a good person, how to heal from their trauma. She's putting herself out there as a life coach. Her entire YouTube channel is about coaching and about covering true crime and about how to heal from narcissistic abuse. Okay, these are things that are my terrain that I've gone to school for. It was a 10-year journey for me to get to the point that I am now, where I'm a licensed clinical social worker, where I'm allowed to counsel other people. 10 years. That was 10 years of hard work for me to get here. Sometimes I get a little annoyed when somebody brings out ChatGPT as who's going to fight their arguments for them, because I don't need ChatGPT. I have 10 fucking years of hard work. But not everybody has that luxury, and that's a privilege that I've had to realize. Get over your thing with ChatGPT, because it's a tool for people that don't have access to therapy, right? That don't have access to 10 years of higher education, or who don't even want it, right? It doesn't mean not everybody wants to go to college, and that's okay, right? In another life, I would have been a tradeswoman because I love working with my hands. Okay, so that's all that is. This person, Megan Connor, the cousin of Lori Vallow Daybell, has taken the tragedy that her family has gone through and the crime that became so famous and launched her own YouTube and career as a life coach from this event that her family went through. And again, her prerogative, okay? The concern I have with her conduct at this point is that everything she's doing as a coach, as a formerly Mormon life coach, Jodi Hildebrandt comes to mind. I'm not saying that Megan Connor is going to go to the degrees that Jodi Hildebrandt went. She was a horrible person. She was a former clinical social worker who actually had her license taken away by her board that oversaw her. Thank God. That's the right move. That's what they should have done. Removed her clinical license, and that's what they did. So what did she do? She just went and launched a life coaching career and made even more money doing that. Megan Connor is a life coach. She is now lecturing other crime victims' families who don't like the way that their family's trauma is being vultured out and exploited by the true crime YouTube community. And I'm going to start shaking because I am from a traumatized family, and so it's triggering for me also. I'm going to read you the way that this person spoke to me because it's insulting. And it's an example of gaslighting, and it's an example of talking in circles, and it's what you want to watch out for. That's why I'm doing this. If you decide I'm going to go see a life coach because I can't afford a therapist or whatever reason, I like the structure of coaching better, there's all kinds of reasons why you might want to go to a coach instead of a therapist. And again, my issue is not that Megan Connor is a life coach. It's what she's doing now with her platform and with her position, saying, I am qualified to guide you. Let me take your thousands of dollars, and now I am going to guide you in how to live a good life and be a good person and heal from abuse. Meanwhile, she's gaslighting Cresha Easton. She's gaslighting Kay Woodcock, and these are victims' family members. Okay, if you're not in the true crime community or you don't follow it, you're not even going to know what I'm talking about, and this is probably not going to be of any interest to you. But it's sick what this person is doing. I don't care that she is also a survivor at this point. She's more of a distant relative. And I tried to engage her in conversation from a critical place, but a civil place, to just get her to answer some questions on her own channel. What qualifies her to guide other people? Why aren't Hidden True Crime and the other content creators that are exploiting this tragedy, why aren't they just doing the basics, which is just offer a simple apology to the people that have been harmed? And I can't go into the whole what harm they were causing. You're going to have to go, if you're intrigued by this, just go look it up. Follow Cresha Easton's channel, Difficult Research, and cult is in all caps. It's one word, difficult, but cult is in all caps, research. I highly recommend that you follow her channel. She's telling the truth about her family's experience and the way that these content creators have completely exploited them. Not only exploited them, but caused rifts in their family. Megan Connor and Lauren Mathias's and Dr. John Mathias, who is a forensic psychologist who should be ashamed of himself and his conduct at this point, have completely, I don't even know what the words are. It's sickening. They have exploited this, and then now they're trying to act like they care and are concerned, and we're worried about. It's the worst form of gaslighting ever. It makes me sick. It makes me sick. This is exactly why I'm concerned about the lack of oversight in the life coaching world. And honestly, in the true crime world. I mean, it's already borderline when you're covering true crime, because it's so rife for exploitation. And, Megan's no exception, because the video that she uploaded about this entire bullshit, right in the title, is already set up for exploitation. And then I'm just going to read some of our conversations so that you can hear an example of the way that she's gaslighting and how I call it out. This is purely from my training, okay? I don't have to use ChatGPT because, thank God, I have the training that I have. But if I didn't, I'm glad that Cresha found the information she needed to on ChatGPT about the bullshit that Megan, because what she's doing is bullshit. It's unethical. She doesn't know what she's doing, and she doesn't know how to admit that and say, maybe I need to take a few steps back, reevaluate my own conduct. That's what social workers are trained to do. We're trained to hold ourselves accountable. I don't even understand. She won't even answer a simple question of mine. Yet I'll just read this because it's all right here. So the title of this video is "Stalking is Serious. Here's the shocking truth you haven't heard." Okay, so that's her clickbait title, to get people listening to her and her poised, polished presentation. I dealt with people like this in academia ad nauseum. I'm so over this type of persona that puts themselves in an ivory tower, speaks with a lot of polished, flowery language, and fucking gaslights you. Okay, I've been around so many. I have people like that in my fucking family. Okay, so here we go. This is me making my comment. I have a big problem with the narrative you've taken up, which seems to be along the lines of, if Lauren is afraid, Lauren must be being stalked. You are placing yourself in your community as someone who can guide others towards emotional healing. Feeling afraid does not equate to an actual threat, and that's basically Emotions 101. Emotions are not facts. Lauren has a right to feel afraid and to say that Christina's behavior scared her, but she took it next level, DEFCON Karen white woman cop collar, and I put that in all caps. You both need to take several steps back and learn about your privilege. Lauren was actually not being stalked. She was being mocked, and her conduct was being called out. You're both acting like white men that tell poor, mentally ill, brown, or other vulnerable people that they need to try harder, be nicer, get better educated, more obedient, etc. You're very misguided in your understanding about what actually happened here. It alarms me that you are coaching other people to view their feelings as facts. Please reconsider, and I put that in all caps. And right now, it's very emotional, and I'm going to acknowledge that because I am emotional. By this point in me confronting her, I've become angry because I have researched this entire unfolding of events, because I do follow true crime. And I followed Hidden True Crime because of the psychology part of their channel, because I am a therapist. I've had my own problems with them for a while. That's not what this reading is about, or this video, I mean. And I get it that for a comment like that, Megan's probably lost in the weeds already because I'm talking about white privilege, and she's probably scratching her head like, huh? But Christina's white. This lady's off the rails. She thinks I can already imagine what she's thinking because she's so convinced of her own rightness and her own perspective. White privilege translates across multiple scenarios. It doesn't just exist in arenas of race, okay? It's part of colonization and capitalism. And again, that's part of my training as a social worker. I know how to talk about these issues because I put in the hard fucking work to talk about them. Am I an expert on race? No, a white person cannot be, okay? I recognize my place in that discussion, but I am supposed to be an advocate and a truth teller and using my position of privilege to tell the truth, not to gaslight people. That's what Megan should be doing. Even though she's not a social worker, if she's saying, I'm going to be a life coach, I'm going to take your money and teach you how to be a good or a healed person, basically, that's what she's doing, okay? So then she replies to me, and again, maybe you're going to think this sounds very reasonable, but I get to it at the end, okay? I'm definitely not trying to tell you your business. I was genuinely interested in your approach, and I'm glad to hear that you are trauma-informed. Your comments seem somewhat victim-shamey. That's my super clinical term since I'm not licensed, and I realize that I'm not a professional in the same space as you. So she's trying to do the basics to make herself look good, right? To acknowledge what I'm saying. This comment is a little bit out of sequence of the thread, but, in fact, actually, maybe I'll read that in a minute because it doesn't make as much sense. Okay, so I said, please reconsider. You're coaching other people to view their feelings as facts. And I had said, it alarms me that you're coaching people in that way. And then here's her first reply to me, my apologies. It says, it alarms me that as a licensed mental health professional, I haven't checked, but you said you were, that you would not look up, that I would not look up. What does she mean? Like that I would not research? Okay, I have a graduate degree. Research is a big part of that. But okay, you're going to explain to me that you would not look up and understand the legal definition of stalking, which was met in this case and upheld by the judge after the hearing where he heard only from the respondent. This has nothing to do with privilege and everything to do with the fact that some people clearly condone harassing and defamatory behavior as acceptable instead of what it is, illegal. You are correct about one thing. Feelings are not facts. Facts are facts. And the fact is, under the legal definition, Lauren was stalked. Okay. So then I replied, at third verse, I actually did look up the legal definition of stalking in the U.S., and like Turtleboy and many others, I'm very comfortable with my assessment and others that it did not in fact rise to the level of stalking that would win Lauren a civil injunction. As a licensed clinical social worker who has supported many abuse victims through their respective court processes, I have never had a client pursue a stalking injunction because their friend was hurt and talking about being hurt online. I've never even had a client want to pursue one until it became factually clear that their life was in danger, and even then, the task itself felt completely overwhelming and impossible, and they were reluctant to pursue one while in literal provable danger. Okay, nobody wants to be in the position. They don't want to have to go to court. They're not out there getting 4 lawyers. They're not out there beefing up their entire narrative, okay, it's just sick. This is obvious if you've worked in the system like I have for as long as I've been a social worker and worked in the mental health and justice and shelter systems my entire career. It's going on 30 years now, okay? I know what I'm talking about here. That it did not, in fact, rise to the level of stalking that would win Lauren a civil injunction. And that's a whole other conversation, whether we think there's problems with the stalking laws, the way they're written. I don't know. That's not the conversation I'm having here. The task itself felt completely overwhelming and impossible, and they were reluctant to pursue one while in literal provable danger. The definition in the legal term includes the word reasonable because feelings are subjective. So in the definition, it says, if a reasonable person would feel afraid given the evidence and the conduct of the person accused of stalking. A reasonable, okay, because feelings are subjective. Just because Lauren was scared doesn't mean that she was being stalked, in other words, right? That's the gist. And then here we go again. Then I added, repeating over and over that Lauren was stalked doesn't make it a fact. I hope Christina pursues a slander case, honestly. I wouldn't have done what she did, but at this point, I think she has a case against Lauren. And then she replies to me, out of curiosity, are the services you provide trauma-informed? If so, I hope you are able to see with your patients that the same set of circumstances can affect two people very differently. Your example of not ever having someone pursue a stalking injunction over being hurt about a friend talking about them online. There was a lot more to it than just that. I understand people not digging into all of the details, but that's where the nuance in this situation is. Bitch, I inhaled every detail of this event that I could, like many people. I'm not blind. I see what happened. I was initially supportive of Lauren because I believe women. I tend to believe women. I err towards belief until I'm shown otherwise, that they're lying in the cases of rape and abuse and stalking, okay? Because that's the world we're in. You can't, okay, so let me just keep going here. So this is what she's doing. Rather than answer questions and explain, yeah, thank you for asking. Accountability is important. Transparency is important. I'm happy to answer your questions. These are my credentials because this is not our only conversation. I've been having multiple conversations with her in her own comment section, asking her these questions, which she has never answered, other than to say, I have credentials, and if you're interested in coaching and want to pay me, I'll tell you what they are. That is non-transparent. Then I went to her Patreon thinking, well, maybe there's more there about what she does and her credentials and what she's saying, and all of it is hidden. You're allowed to join her Patreon, but you can't see any of it. So basically, you're allowed to beef her Patreon up, but you can't get any of her content unless you pay her. And she's saying, I want to help people heal from narcissistic abuse, right? Like, even I have content that is helpful that doesn't charge anyone, okay? Like, what is she doing? I'm just over it. I'm over people like this. So she totally gaslit me there. So then I answer, at third verse, I specialize in PTSD. There's more to it, is why the legal system is careful to make the distinction of a reasonable person when it comes to stalking. Did you not read my last comment? I don't know any of my previous clients who have experienced life-threatening stalking who would see Christina's TikTok posts and agree that she was threatening Lauren's life. That's called qualitative, informal, clinical experience, and I used it to illustrate an informed point. I've been doing what I do for 25 years. I am an IFS therapist. I am also trained extensively in DBT and worked community crisis intervention as well. I've been a field instructor at the graduate level in clinical social work. There's more to it. Great. Then I'm sure Lauren will have no problem taking her case back up and doing what she has to do to protect her family, as any mother would who feels they are in imminent danger should. Yet in a comment near mine here, everyone is yucking it up about Christina being annoying and having a laugh. And Christina's the accused stalker in this situation, okay? That Lauren was terrified for her life. Yet everybody's joking about Christina being annoying, okay? This is another example of privilege. Oh, wait. Yet in a comment near mine here, everyone is yucking it up about Christina being annoying and having a laugh. So is she threatening someone's life or being annoying? This is another example of privilege, whereby you explain to me, someone who literally has more training and trauma than you, that two people can experience the same event differently. Out of curiosity, have you ever gotten any training in power and privilege? No, I'm sure she hasn't. I recommend you read about white women fragility. It explains a lot about how white women have been acculturated to believe that if they are afraid, someone must be, among other things, criminally prosecuted. What, if anything, have you, Lauren, and John done to review your own conduct and explore publicly where you might have been guilty of upholding an inaccurate narrative and harming someone with far less power than the three of you? All I've heard is that John and Lauren don't answer to the community that way because it isn't their brand, and that's a direct quote from their own uploads. I find this an example of poor clinical work on John's part. He can't humble himself enough to acknowledge that there has been harm caused to surviving victims' families and just make a public apology. Have you all ever considered the wisdom in doing something like that for Kay and Krusha and putting them ahead of the Hidden True Crime brand? Is what John and Lauren are doing trauma-informed? I'm asking for Kay and Krusha. Please fill us in on what we are missing. And so here, I feel like I walked a little bit of a fine line because it's not for me to invoke Kay and Krusha's names, okay? But at this point, I want to stand up for them and name them in her comments because I don't like what she's doing and how she's treating them specifically, so I named them. But it's not my place otherwise, and I'm not going to keep naming them here on this channel because this channel isn't about that. And I'm not inserting myself. I am inserting myself, okay? I can acknowledge that. I'm inserting myself at this point because I don't like Megan's behavior. I've already offered to support the other podcasters who are trying to expose this from my license, and so far I haven't been taken up on it. So now I'm going to do it myself from my license because it's making me crazy, and I have a voice and I'm allowed to use it, so I'm using it here as a clinical social worker to call out this behavior. So if Kay and Krusha ever see this, please know I don't invoke your name to drop your name or to say that you've asked me to speak for you. I don't speak for you. I want to say that very clearly. We don't know each other, and I know that. I'm very sorry that you have been through this, and this is me being angered because I treat victims of trauma in my practice, and I am a trauma survivor as well. And I just, okay, I'm at my limit with this bitch. I can't help it. So that's when she says, I'm definitely not trying to tell you your business. I was genuinely interested in your approach, and I'm glad to hear that you are trauma informed. Oh, thank you. I'm so glad I have your approval, Megan. Your comment seems somewhat victim shamey. That's my super clinical term since I'm not licensed. And it's because I don't believe Lauren's a victim. Never once did I shame any victims in there. I'm calling out Lauren for her dishonest conduct, okay, because I don't believe she's a victim at this point. So she's accusing me now of victim shaming, but we don't agree that Lauren is a victim. So she's gaslighting me. And that allows her to call me into question as a therapist by accusing me of victim shaming, which I've never done here, okay? As far as what I do to review my own conduct, I have many processes in place for that. I hope you do too. And here's where she's bullshitting again because she knows that I've already talked to her about this in another comment thread where I answered her questions about who I'm accountable to. She's never once answered mine though. That's the issue. She's gaslighting. She's a double talker, okay? She's a fucking fraud. I have many processes in place for that. I hope you do too. Ones besides the licensing board. Plenty of therapists are unethical and even harmful without facing consequences from the licensing board. Is that right? Thank you for telling me. And ultimately, the board answers to the state, who answers to the people who elect them, and the people can vote them out. To whom are the people accountable? What are you even talking about? What are you talking about? I don't know. I would love to talk to Kay or Krusha about their experience. Both of them have my number. I genuinely believe that there is a space for a conversation to continue from here into a repair of the relationships, but I'm not sure if that's what all the parties want. At the end of the day, two things can be true. Kay and Krusha have a right to feel how they feel, and so does Lauren. Yes, feelings are not facts. White women experience privilege in the legal system. But I'm curious why you refuse to accept that the judge granted Lauren a stalking injunction, which he didn't. He granted her a temporary restraining order, not a stalking injunction. And then upheld it. Is there some injustice in your own life or your clients that you're trying to repair? Okay, so now she's analyzing me. And she's allowed to do that, but it's bullshit. It's gaslighting because she won't answer any of my questions. I believe in transparency. That's why I'm asking her questions. It's a form of advocacy so that the public can see what her credentials are. What are her training? Reveal a bit more about herself. She doesn't have it anywhere listed, not on her website, not on her Patreon unless it's behind the paywall, and not on her YouTube. None of her credentials are anywhere public. You can only access that information if you are interested in coaching and paying her for that information. So she's gaslighting me. She's calling me into question, which I'm not even involved. I'm actually critiquing her, but she doesn't like it. So instead of be willing to be critiqued and say, yeah, I appreciate you asking because it's important and I agree. And here's what qualifies me, right? That's legit. I would have had no problem. I would have been like, thank you. That's what I do. You know, I answered her questions. And that's what I'm saying here. Okay. At third verse, as I asserted in another comment when I asked you about accountability, I volunteered that I'm accountable to my clients and my community in addition to a governing board, as any social worker should be. Because I'm asking you critical questions about your active conduct in this situation, it seems you feel it's important to coach me in my practice by hoping aloud that I'm an ethical therapist for some reason, because I'm asking you questions. It appears like a deflection. It allows you to appear as if you are actually teaching and orienting me to the world of clinical ethics. Why? I'm not involved, and asking investigative questions means my own conduct should be questioned in response, and then you don't answer anything in return? That seems convenient, but you're allowed to deflect, I guess. You don't owe me. But I'm asking, since you charge thousands of dollars for coaching, and asking critical questions of helping professionals who charge thousands is social worker conduct we are guided to in the NASW Code of Ethics. We are to be advocates. Asking transparent questions is a form of community advocacy, Megan Connor. It's not an invitation for you to call me into question because or who are you, Donald Trump? I mean, it's embarrassing. You don't see your privilege here. You don't see it. You refuse to acknowledge it. And I understand, white woman to white woman, it's uncomfortable. I didn't want to think I had privilege either. I had to do a lot of soul searching about that and get real and be willing to say the truth. You are not willing to do that here. I don't see any willingness you haven't taken any steps of accountability in any of this at all. You express interest in my perspective, but it reads as disingenuous since you're asking things about me. I've already volunteered. Oh, I see. But it reads as disingenuous since you're asking things about me. I've already volunteered, yet you haven't revealed or answered any questions about your training or accountability process yourself, unless you think I might pay you for coaching. Temporary restraining orders are typical and standard and should be granted for the safety of any petitioner until a more thorough review can be done. The judge was right to do so as an ethical judicial official tasked with considering general public safety. Your effort seems sincere in your questions. Your effort to seem sincere in your questions land with me like doublespeak. You say my comments seem victim blamey, but you already know I don't see Lauren Mathias as a victim after having reviewed everything and having said as much already. I was actually initially supportive because I lean towards accepting what women say about abuse as a rule, but I no longer support their narrative. They have exploited people. The order was a temporary restraining order, not a stalking injunction, and she's never taken up the conversation again. And this is just one thread. We've had 4, at least, I think, where I've asked her questions and she's refused to answer, and not only refused to answer, but tried to cast me in a suspect light because I'm asking her questions. I'm very happy to display my credentials. I'm licensed in Oregon and Washington. You know, I just think your conduct is bullshit. You need to look in the mirror and make an apology. And you need to make an apology for what I think you need to apologize for is refusing to acknowledge your role in this, okay? You didn't do the harm that Lauren and Dr. John caused. That's fair. You're also a family member. That's fair. But you're upholding the narrative that's so harmful You're causing harm yourself, okay? You are now causing harm. That's the point. That's why I'm doing this, because you are now causing harm. If you were minding your business and privately supporting Krusha behind the scenes, great. But you've went and put everything on blast yourself, and you're willing to die on the hill to defend Lauren Matthias. I have no fucking clue why, I guess because you feel beholden to her because she gave you your start and your launch point, so that now you have thousands and 20,000 some followers and all thousands of ways to access life coaching clients. That I just find it so, you're a grifter. You're just a grifter is what you are. You need to heal. Maybe you'll heal. Maybe you'll realize, wow, people that do know some things are calling my conduct into question. Maybe I should take a minute, rather than double speak them and call their conduct into question. Maybe I should just full stop listen to what they're asking me and do some research into that. Maybe that would be great. So I'm just going to pull, I don't know what, maybe, I don't even know. Let's just see what wants to come out now that I've done that whole spiel. What cards want to come out about this? I'll just do a 3-card pull here. So we have the King of Pentacles, the Seven of Pentacles in reverse, the Empress, and the Emperor in reverse. So the Empress upright is a fertile, abundant, attracts from authority, and is a safe feminine energy to be around. She's protective, she's watchful, she attracts what she needs. She doesn't go out and hustle and chase and grind and push and force, right? She allows things to come to her. But she's a ruler. She's mastered all 4 lessons of the 4 queens, okay? And now she's an empress herself. We have a King of Pentacles in the upright. So this strikes me as a grounded, ethical person, masculine, that knows how to provide, that knows how to be strong, that knows how to be 10 toes down, that knows how to be ethical, right? This is somebody that manages their power from an ethical place and who provides for the people that have less than them, okay? Those are 2 very powerful energies. What we have here at 7 of Pentacles in the reverse is a lot of fighting over the harvest here. A lot of working and working and working to get a harvest out of this situation. And I think that applies to channels that use this to further their own stuff, but without giving anything back, and by being exploitational, right? As Krusha has accurately identified a long time ago. Not that it's for me to say whether what she feels is accurate or not. It's not. But she rightly identified that they were exploiting her family, right? And so this is like all of the people clamoring around like the ambulance chasers that are all in competition with one another. It's in the reverse. And then we have the Emperor in reverse. So this is a power abuser. This is someone that is convinced of their own rightness to the point that they will wipe out people that speak against them, that, by copyright striking. So who is Lauren Matthias to copyright strike Krusha Easton's YouTube material that is about, and her photographs that were shared with Hidden True Crime of her family, and then turn around and copyright strike her? Okay, I'm stumbling over my words because I'm so stunned. I can't even believe the conduct. It's really horrible. I'm just so sorry, truly, to everybody involved that was hurt. And yeah, it hurts as a viewer for me because of my own trauma, and I can be real with that. Megan's very concerned question, and she did it to fucking Krusha. Go watch Krusha's latest upload and you'll see. And again, I'm sorry I keep invoking their names. I'm just very angry about it. And I have a right to be. I have an angry part that doesn't like seeing other people exploited. That's why I became a fucking social worker, okay? Yeah, Yes, Megan, I do. I have an angry part of me that doesn't like the shit that you're doing. Yes, I do. Because I'm a human being. I'm not a fucking therapy robot. I'm not a life coach robot that only has one persona that's polished and grounded and concerned and occasionally cracks a joke. And if everyone would just see things the way that I do, wouldn't this all just be over? I mean, that's her whole affect, and it's fake. It's fake, okay? It's fake because she hasn't done the actual soul searching here. She can if she wants to, but she hasn't because she's too defensive. So she's just too busy defending herself and trying to make other people doubt themselves. And yet she accuses the Mormon community of doing that. She's from that community. Yet she's not seeing, even though she's an ex-Mormon, she's not seeing all of that culture that she was raised in. She is perpetuating it, but she's not seeing that. And I do see it because I have the training to see it. I'm not just shooting my mouth off. Once again, I'm going to say I studied this for close to 10 years. And before that, I had my entire career behind me that studied it on the job before I went to graduate school, just at the bachelor's level. All of those decades of work. It's just sickening. Yes, you can speak from your healing position, but realize what you don't know. Some final messages. Studious bookworm, go back to school and study this, and maybe you can turn it around. Maybe you'll realize I owe a bunch of people apologies here. I really fucked up. I violated the trust that was placed in me by these people, and, you know, I need to own that. Yeah, dark. This is like toxic religiousness right here in reverse. Christianity, religious in reverse, right? Exactly what I just said. She hasn't recognized and exercised that toxic culture from her system, and she needs to. And I have done that. As a white woman that grew up with financial privilege, I've been on this journey. I've been held accountable so many times by people of color and people with less power than me that called my privilege out to me, to my face, and said, you need to go within and look at that. They didn't accuse me. They weren't telling me I was being a bad person. They lacked patience with me at times, for sure, because they've been doing this for fucking centuries with a lot of patience for white people to be like, huh? But isn't it, but love sees no color, and but you know, it's that. That's what you're doing, Megan. Stop doing that to people. It's sick. Look inside. It's uncomfortable. I did a solid 4 years of the hardest white privilege work I've ever done in the past, and I still do it because my work will never be done as a white woman to understand that. You need to grasp that. You need to grasp it and maybe do that accountability work and then come back and talk to us, right? Red flags, abuse, violence, right? Here in the upright, coercive control, run, get away. You're not seeing clearly. You think you are, but you're not. It's no different than Lori thinking she's chosen, okay? You may not be saying that, but your conduct shows it. No fucking way. Felony stalking and gang stalking. You can't make it up. Too funny. Too funny. So that's going to be it for this reading, or this video. This is probably one of the few times I'll do this, unless something like this happens again, where I get really triggered by it and as a social worker, and I feel like I need to speak from my discipline. And that's social work. Look up the NASW Code of Ethics, where social workers see abuse of power, exploitation. They're supposed to speak up. They're supposed to identify it. They're supposed to, and that's what I'm doing. I'm just using the small platform I have here to expose it, and I think it's bullshit. So anyways, that's it. I was about to get into another reading, but what I'm going to do is do another upload now to just have a totally separate reading from all of this. So thank you for being here. My name is Cynthia. If you like my work, please like and subscribe and come back for more. And I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.